Welcome, everybody, to the One to Go show presented by Dirt Track Supply. It is Ryan Hill, and it is Puka. Welcome, everybody. Of course, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get all of the action all year long from the One to Go show. And let's bring in the star of the show, Ryan Hill. How you doing, pal?
I don't know about all that, but I'm doing great, man. Episode number 91. You know, we got a lot to talk about. Breaking news. Absolutely breaking news in WISSOTA racing, something that is huge, that is going to shake up the national title hunt in a class. But we'll get to that in just a minute.
We're going to leave them hanging.
Yeah, I'm going to leave them hanging a little bit here. Episode number 91. We'll get on task here. Who do you got? Number 91. You got one.
Oh, you know who I got. This is when I turn to the modified.
Who you got.
Yeah, this is when I turned to the modified, and it's Craig Thatcher, of course. And you know, when I got to thinking about it, what happened to Craig Thatcher?
I think he just, he ran its course. He dominated for so long, and, I think he just got to the point where he just was no longer as hungry as he was during all of his title reigns, and one of the best ever strap in. I'm telling you what, Craig Thatcher was. And he, who he reminded me of? Shane Sabraski. Okay, and what I mean by that is he's dominant. Right, he won everywhere, every track condition, didn't matter, but everybody liked him, which is weird. Right? Okay. That's weird. Really? Like, people don't like the guy that wins all the time, and everybody liked Craig Thatcher. I mean, one of a kind. I got a quick story about him. I was in Rapids, and he was super clean, good racer. And I was in my mod. I think maybe it was my first, second year, something like that. And I'd been running good, but my steering box, before we had the sweet steering boxes, we had the old 605. Just junkyard steering boxes. Well, it worked good, but it was pouring power steering fluid out. I'm like, I am sick of cleaning this deal up. So I went to the parts store. I got a brand new steering box. I put it on, and I couldn't get it to work, right? And I'm like, man, I think I got it. I literally buried it into turn one at the WISSOTA Classic, and I went to counter steer, and the steering locked up, and I just yard sailed Thatcher. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I love this guy. He's like amazing race car driver. And here I just destroy him in the heat race. And so I come back in. I'm like, dude, my steering literally locked up. And he sees me. I'm like changing steering boxes. And he wasn't real happy. But, I mean, he knew, he's like, all right, I mean, it is what it is. I didn't try to garbage him and came from deep. And I think I ran pretty good. I certainly didn't win that night. But, yeah, and another story about him, he missed a heat race. We were at the WISSOTA 100 in Brainerd.
Really?
And it must have been, I was in a bus.
07, 08 is when they were having them there.
Yeah, it would have been, 07 I won in the Super at Brainerd, so it was 08 my rookie year. And next thing you know, like we're looking at everything, and the features rained out. I won the dash that year. I was on the pole for the feature, and it rained out. I was hoping to get 2 in a row. But everybody's like, Thatcher never ran his heat. I'm like, what? So he was kicked back over, kind of where they pull on the track in Brainerd, kind of just kicked back, dozing, just relaxed, right? And he sees a number 37 sitting there, and he's like, okay, yeah, we're good to go. I'm in the heat after him. Well, it turns out there was 2 because Skeeter was also running an AIM-ON at the time for that show, and he totally missed his heat. He had no idea, missed his heat. And all of us mob guys are like, yes, Thatcher's not in. He's got to go to the back of a B. And that was kind of a unique deal. But anything stick out with you with Craig Thatcher?
Well, no, just that domination. I just, especially in that, seemed like that TriStar car. When he was the TriStar Engines car, the 91. Saw many. I mean, everywhere. Cedar Lake, Rice Lake, Superior. It didn't matter. Hibbing, Rapids.
Remember that
just a
picture
total.
Of his head like turned around like Beetlejuice, and all the dirt was like facing backwards. You ever see that picture?
No. And while on the gas.
Oh, yeah. If somebody's got that picture, if you're watching, post that picture in the comments because it's super cool. There's a picture of him right in the middle of the corner, and he's like Beetlejuice. His head is literally facing that way, and I think he had probably a straightaway lead at the time. He usually did. But I remember, they're like, oh, my gosh, literally the guy can look behind him. He's got eyes in the back of his head, right? I mean, he was literally turned around. It was in all the dirt. I don't remember what year it was, but back in the mid-2000s for sure. So, yeah, Craig Thatcher, that's a good one. Honestly, I did not even have him on my list, which is crazy.
Really? Well, who do you got?
I went late model guy. Remember Raleigh Foote? He had the silver 91. Rick Eggersdorf drove that car a little bit too. but it was silver 91. He came up to Hibbing. He was there for Labor Day. I got a picture of him up at Thunder Bay at the Riverview Raceway. But I know nothing about that guy other than it was a unique car. And it was weird that I didn't know anything about him. And I remember Eggersdorf drove that one a little bit. So, but Craig Thatcher is, I mean, Raleigh Foot, nothing against the guy, but Craig Thatcher's Craig Thatcher, right? So, you know, of course, this episode brought to you by our friends over at Dirt Track Supply, home of the Aero Chassis. Jeremy Castro, he doubled up again, Puka. Again. 13 on the year. And he's heading over to the Little Dream this coming Tuesday. We'll talk about that in a minute. But cool to see somebody from way out west making the trip over. You know, everybody at Dirt Track Supply wishing him good luck and all the other arrows. And I tell you what, if you need parts, you need service, you need a car, anything in the racing world, get a hold of Ron, get a hold of Trevor. They'll take good care of you. You know, Ron's a legend. I didn't know much about his racing, but I did a little research. I got won a lot of races. Hey. You know, I did not know. I didn't pay much attention to the South Dakota scene. We didn't have the internet, right? Back then,
right.
It was a little different. But, man, he won a ton of races out there, and a lot of people got a lot of respect for him. And, of course, Trevor, he's got a pile this year, too. So, you know, great folks at Dirt Track Supply. Thank you very much. And, you know, let's get to it. You know, should we start with the big drama, or should we make them wait just a little bit?
No, they're going to have to wait. That might be in the last lap.
Yeah, it's big. It's big. Stay tuned. You ain't gonna want to miss that. Well, let's talk about the races we attended. And Bert had some stuff going on. He will be back. He's not fired. Puka did not let him go. He's still with us. All right.
He'll be at Cedar Lake.
He will be at the USA Nationals, but he just has some stuff going on. Couldn't quite make it on this week. And he went to Shawano. They had the Racing for a Reason over there. You know, I saw a lot of stuff. Mother Nature, you know, of course, she won that one. It rained. Worst case scenario, Puka, it rained like literally a half hour before race time.
Right.
You know, and it's like one of those.
And they tried.
They did. They tried. And a lot of people didn't go pack. And I'm going to talk about that in the last lap too. But the fact is, it was muddy. And I mean, when you get if it's a little quarter mile deal and it's muddy, you can kind of make it happen, right? But a big half mile that heavy, it was going to take a while to get it in. And they tried. A lot of guys wouldn't even go and pack. Right, a lot of guys wouldn't even unload their car, which, you know, I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe they just figured they probably weren't going to make a go of it. I'm not really sure. But he always does those die-cast cars, right? They have a fundraiser there. And jump on the Shawano's Facebook page. Hats off to the guys over there. They do a great job with that. $350 he got for his die-cast. And it was Pappy Demel. It was AJ Demel's, I think, dad, right? Not grandpa. I think it was his dad, wasn't it? Yeah. And so it was kind of a tribute. I know AJ had a tribute car for that earlier this year, and that was kind of a die cast of that. So kind of cool. Bert's done a lot of cool ones, and you see him when they were behind him, he's done all those himself. So Puka, did you go to 3 races this week or 2?
I didn't make it to Rapids on Thursday.
You didn't. Well, I'll talk about Rapids in a minute, okay? Because I have something there. Well, why don't you talk about the 2 that you went to? I know you went to Gondik, you went to Hibbing. Twin 25s at Gondik. What stuck out to you?
Yeah. Twin 25s were great. You know, like I said, I kind of get behind that one. Been going for years. I remember when it used to be in Proctor. Then they moved to Superior. I remember when it was a Sunday in Superior, and now it's a Friday in Superior, and now it's a Challenge Series race. You know, and so you know, massive crowd, fantastic again. Track was great. You know, we were on Superior, and I talked to Joe a little bit on Fridays. Oh, you know, what do you think? And I said, hey, it's looking good. It's a lot better than last year. So track was great. Like I said. Crowd was great. The only complaint I would have a little bit, I mean, the intermission was long. It was almost an hour, you know, so they had to do the Challenge Series redraw, and then they have to do the Super Stock Series redraw. And at that point, they were kind of farming the track and doing a little bit, but then it just kind of sat there. I mean, the one thing about Superior is if you want to get to that concession stand, you got to wait in a long line. They sell a lot of hot dogs. So, and they sold a lot of hot dogs that night. So just, you know, so I was hoping to get it home a little bit earlier. I think I ended up in bed about 1:00. So, you know, what stuck out, Massengill, I think I texted you, I thought it, you know, we saw some smoke and the guy was sitting with it. Did he puff an engine? I think he dropped the drive shaft is what it ended up here. Okay. So, you know, he coasted big lead in the first heat, but then he ends up rolling 16 spots up to 5th place in that feature. So a great run for him. Poor Jake Radetzky, you know, things just aren't getting, well, I shouldn't say that. Saturday, Rice Lake Challenge Series 5th place, but, you know, dead last in the feature. Now there were a few DNFs, of course, but he was the last guy rolling. So, you know, last year he had a tough year, kind of a tough year this year. Jimmy Mars, another flat tire. So if you recall, fans. I was at Cedar Lake 2 weeks ago. He's sitting on the pole. They don't even complete a lap. There's a caution for a long cleanup. He's sitting there. All of a sudden they get rolling again, flat tire. Well, he gets flat tire again here while leading on. Oh, no, he wasn't leading. No, because there was a caution. He did get to the lead, but on the first one, but then there was a restart. So Darrell was in the lead. So he was second or third, whatever, but another flat tire. He was able to, get the tire on and resume, although he did spin out. He came up for about 5 laps. He was on the top of the track and did spin out. And then, of course, everyone's probably heard of the big rollover with Timmy Johnson. Almost like it looked like I just missed it. All I saw was dust in the air and a bunch of sparks, but it sounds like he went full speed. Ryan, what did you hear on that? But I'm so glad no one got hurt.
So he come into the deal and leading the points in the Fastlane Superstock Series, right? So for people wondering, Puka's a little off base here because it was a Fastlane Superstock show. They had the late models in there as a support class. Okay, so he's kind of got this backwards. But he came in with the point lead. He had 3 straight seconds. Then he won in Grand Rapids. And then in the heat race, I don't know if he got together with somebody, but the suspension broke. And I don't know if you remember, but he got like third, I think, in the heat. The left front tire fell off.
Right, exactly.
On the last lap. So like the whole suspension came off. So they had to get that all scrambled, get that fixed. He's up in the top 5, looking good. I think he might have been third, fourth at the time.
I think it was third at the time. Yep. Yeah. Flynn, Burdick, Timmy.
Yeah, he broke a brake rotor coming into turn 1, lost his brakes. And I'm here to tell you, Timmy Johnson brings it getting into the corner. And when he went to grab the brake pedal, nothing. And he hit the wall and yard sale and went up over the fence. And I thought maybe – I wasn't sure if he broke something or if he just saw Hot Carl over there drinking all his beer and he was trying to get back to the cooler. He's like, this is bullshit. Like, Hot Carl's drinking all my Busch lattes over there. I'm trying to get over there as fast as I can. It turns out he actually did break something. Tough break for Timmy because I think that he was in the driver's seat. He had a fairly comfortable lead to win the points. That killed him that night. And then Jordan Hinkemeyer, of course, son of John Hinkemeyer, that they own Rapid Performance, he let him use his cars for the next couple nights, and he salvaged it. I think he still finished third, I think, in the points deal. But, man, a tough break for Tim Johnson.
Well, I just want to say another. We've talked about it a week or two ago. Another hard rollover. I mean, I was worried about the pits. I mean, people were like, "Oh my gosh!" Like he had to have hit someone. Someone was there. Todd Gillitzer, a guy, he said he was about 4 feet from the pit fence, but again, he walked away. So a testament to all of these chassis builders. Right. It is amazing with how many tough rollovers. Where we talked about Dustin Strand last week. But yeah, thank God he walked away. And they were pretty quick on the intercom to say, or on the microphone, he's okay. But it was silent for a little while there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Affordable chassis, they build a really good car. They really do. And, and then Dave Flynn, he won the feature that night, and we'll talk about him more in a little bit. But you talked about Massengill. He got 5th in that first one from deep, but then he got 3rd in the second one. So he passed some cars in that one too. I believe, and I don't have it in front of me, but I'm kind of looking and thinking a little bit. I think he's the only guy that finished top 5 in both features.
I would say that's correct.
Yes. Biasi did not. Yeah. Darrell did not.
No.
Right?
No, Darrell didn't. Right. I would say that's correct.
Yep. So Massengill, again, looking good at the Twin 25.
Yeah.
He's in the top 5. And he's kind of cooled down a little bit, right? He hasn't, he started off really strong. He cooled down. But let's see if he can get a rhythm going back in that 6M, and get, crack off some more top 5s there. Another thing over there in Superior is, well, speaking of that, Darrell Nelson, he won the first one. He's leading the structural buildings with sort of late model challenge series and, a little bit of drama over there. So I didn't see what happened on the track. Okay, I didn't see it. Did you happen to see in the first feature, there was supposedly an incident between Sam Mars and Jeff Provenzino? Did you happen to see that?
Yeah. So, I mean, nothing crazy, and if you've seen Provenzino race for many years, it was typical Proven. I mean, nothing. It's not like from what I saw, it's not like he came in and.
So what you're saying is Proven was a hack. I got you. So Jeff, that's Puka. Puka's pulling you off.
I mean, a little bit of did they touched? Like I said, I've never raced, so I don't know the etiquette. If it was a hockey game, I could tell you. but, you know, they touched. I mean, Sammy was able to keep going. But what I think is Jimmy saw it because, like I said, Jimmy got the flat, Jimmy pitted, Jimmy came back out. So he started dead last. I don't know what position they were fighting for at the time, 13, 14, 15. So Jimmy had passed a few cars. I think he sees it. And then I guess you tell me the rest because I didn't know anything about this until
So again, this is all hearsay, and I've heard it from a couple different sources, but evidently Jimmy was not happy, right? Jimmy was not happy. So he went down to Provenzino's. Now, I've been around Provo. When he's in a good mood, he's really loud, right? When he's in a bad mood, he's even louder, right? And so I know that. So, but from what sources tell me, okay, so don't get mad at me. This is from my sources, and I backed them up with more sources and more sources, that they kind of had a little altercation there down towards Provenzino's pit. So Mars made his way all the way down to where they weren't parked in the same area. He made his way down by him, and there was a lot of screaming being had, and Jeff gets really loud, and next thing you know, the rumors have it that Jimmy grabbed him, and I've had people say, man, he grabbed him by the throat. He kind of had it, like he was kind of like, and again, I get it. You know, you're already hot, you're already fuming, then you have somebody kind of gaslights you a little bit, gets you even hotter. But people saw it, right? And no penalty, no nothing. Okay, and this is gonna play into what we're talking about later. But here's an incident where there's literally screaming and yelling in the pits. Like, sounds to me like there may have been hands on a driver putting his hands on another driver. People saw it. Nobody penalized. Okay, I like both of these guys. I've had people say, "Oh man, you don't like Jimmy Mars. I can't believe you called him out." I got him number 1 in the power rankings. What are you talking about? Like, I mean, come on. I mean, so I like Jimmy Mars. I also like drama. It's good for the show, right? And when things happen, we're going to call it out. But let's be honest. This is 2 incidents this year. I've not seen that side of him. I'm not saying he's got a competitive side, a fiery side. But you look at that deal he had with Glenn's, right? And then all of a sudden you look at this deal here, which from what I understand had nothing to do with him and Jeff. It was Jeff and his kid. And again, I didn't see the incident, so maybe it was work. I don't know. I haven't seen the incident, but you know,
right. And let me clarify too. The incident I saw was in 1 and 2, so maybe something happened on the backstretch, in 3 and 4 on the front stretch. The thing I saw was in 1 and 2, so that's what I saw. So like I said, I mean, there's, you know how it is. There's, your spear is kind of big, you know, so you're looking over here, looking over there. There's a million things going on, especially that, like I said, the track was perfect. So there was a lot going on.
Right. So Bert said, you know, that we have to give Jimmy a donkey award. We fought against it, you know, but right. This is Bert's the statesman of the group. So Jimmy Mars is getting a donkey award, right? He just is. Because, I mean, when you go down to somebody else's pit area and then you put their hands around the throat, I mean, come on. I mean, this is a guy that's a champion. He's a Hall of Famer. I usually don't see that kind of intensity from him. I don't know if he's just getting a little bit burnt out or a little fired up. I mean, he's still one of the best to strap in and probably would have been in contention to win that race if not for a flat. 2 big weeks in a row, right? The $5,000 to win show.
I know.
Right away. So, you know, literally he was in contention to win both of them. But it's just interesting, you know, that you see, I know WISSOTA can't suspend somebody or fine anybody or penalize them without the track throwing it at them. I don't know what's right, wrong, or indifferent here, right? I mean, car counts aren't up, right? So I'm not necessarily a fan of suspending drivers because that just hurts the fans. It hurts, you know, but, you know, you kind of maybe a probation deal or whatever. I wasn't there. You know, there's 2 sides to every story. I'm positive of it, right? That when Jimmy went down there, Provo absolutely got in his grill. There's not even a question about it, you know. But just it was interesting a little hear about that drama after the fact. I had a few people text me. I'm like, I knew nothing about it, and so kind of a neat deal. So let's talk anything more on the Twin 25s. Great job to them guys. You know, one thing, Puka, I got a question for you. So the intermission was long. It was long. But were they doing track prep the whole time, kind of rolling it back in?
No. Like I said, the track prep was done. I think the track prep was just about done after the late model portion of the Frisbee throwing and the redraw. You know, then the Super Sox series comes over because I was standing right there with Mac SD, Skeeter SD, Royne was there. Some of those guys were just kind of looking at the track. And, you know, me, you know, the 9 o'clock bedtime guy, plus I got an hour and a half drive. I'm kind of looking like, what's going on here? What's going on here? And that's when I kind of talked to Joe a little bit. And then I did end up in the line and for the concession stand, I came out and we're still not running. And then finally things kind of got rolling. So like I said, that'd be the only complaint. Obviously the people that live around Twin Ports, it was no big deal, but those shows, well, we'll talk about Hibbing in a minute, but I think that's been one of Hibbing's benefits this year is the shows are getting done between 9:30 and 10. And, if you're a traveler, if you go to Bemidji or you're in Grand Rapids or you're in the Virginia, Eveleth, Mountain Iron area, and as a fan, it's kind of nice. You're still getting to bed at a pretty decent time.
And that's the thing. If that's our only complaint about the Twin 25,
yeah.
It was really a great show, great car counts in both, the super stocks and in the late models, and there was good racing to be had. And Burdick was right there with Flynn kind of at the end of that one, had a shot to win that one. And we'll get more into that in a little bit. So let's head over to Hibbing. I know you went there on Saturday as well. A little bit of drama there too, right? A little bit of drama in Hibbing. Yeah. But what stuck out to you over at the Hibbing Raceway?
Well, the crowd, like I said, the crowd's pretty light in June, but have gotten much better in July. Looking out, I mean, the crowds have been good. And like I said, the track's been good. I know there's some racers that are complaining. It gets a little choppy on top, and some might say it's a little one lane on top. I mean, there's guys that are passing the bottom, but I'd rather see one lane on the top than one lane on the bottom, where everybody's brake checking, everyone's rear quarter paddles bent up. So I like it. As a fan, I like it. I think they've done a really, really good job this year with the tracks. Like I said, the fan counts up. Now, if I would have told you in the year 2000 that a Hansen, a Kittner, a Finkbone, and a Broking one, you'd say, huh. And now I fast forward to 2021, and I will tell you there was a Hansen, a Kittner, a Finkbone, and a Broking that one. So that's what I love about racing, right? It's generation.
False.
Well, yeah.
Hansen did not win.
Took the checkered flag.
He did not win. He did not win. And people are like, well, what do you mean? He won this? No, So I don't know all the details, but evidently he had an illegal engine. Evidently the numbers were ground off the heads and they wouldn't let him take a look at it. And he got disqualified in the sprint car. Don't know the whole story, but kind of an interesting deal there with Harry Hansen, who's transitioning back out of the sprint cars back into the late models. So
yeah. And he said that he broke the late model at the Twin 25s. And I know he was towed off or pushed off or what have you. But boy, I'll tell you, those sprints, they had 18 of them, and they, with the wings, the non-wing, they're okay. They're no different than a B-Mod or something, but boy, they put the wings on them, and V-Brock come up, the young V-Brock, and I really like them. And that Northern Renegades, they got a pretty good thing going there. But yeah, Harry's going to have to relegate. It was, it was a popular win, obviously, in Hibbing. He's made a lot of laps around the track. He was in the redress. He was down on the podium. They did a little interview. The fans love him in Hibbing. And then, and I noticed his car was, they had the lights on because he wasn't pulled up to the trailer like this. He was pulled up to the trailer like this. And it sat there for a long time. And I just thought, well, maybe he wants to show the fans, but it was just something you could, where he parks there in Hibbing. Yep. And where I'm at in that booth and I'm looking, it's like, it just seems kind of weird. Well, then, we find out yesterday there might have been an issue, and there was an issue.
there certainly was. So it happens to the best of them. I guess it is what it is. So, I thought you went to Grand Rapids. I wasn't sure, and one thing stuck out to me. Okay, and I helped the Grand Rapids Speedway, right? But it's an equal opportunity award program here, and they're getting a donkey award. Plain and simple. The Grand Rapids Speedway straight up donkey award. Dude, 3-lap Midwest mod feature. 3. Count them. 3.
I heard that.
Not halfway, not 8, not 12, 3. And I'm like, man, there must have been like 852 cautions or something. There's only like 4. I'm not saying only, but there's like 4, maybe 5. It wasn't like way out of hand. The problem is the record service takes like forever there. And nothing against them. I'm sure they're volunteers. I don't know how that all works, but they are at snail speed. One car went up off into the trees and they had to pull them out. It seemed like it took an hour, right? So it wasn't the drivers. It was just they're not quick at moving them on. Now, I got a question for you, and then I'm going to give you my take, okay? Should tracks ever cut laps?
Absolutely. As a fan, yes. The only track I've ever seen that had the balls to do it has been Cedar Lake. There were years when, I don't know, street stock, super, so whatever, and they go and go, and they're crashing and they're spinning out and this and that. And eventually they would just hold the check. They wouldn't even wave the checkered flag. They turn on the caution lights. He'd hold the checkered flag out like this, and it was over. So as a fan, yes. Now, it probably helped to let the racers know ahead of time, like there's a time limit or something like that. And I think that's what Cedar might have had. But yes, that is my opinion. Please comment. Obviously, Ryan's going to give his thoughts. What do you think?
Under no circumstances should a track cut laps ever, okay? There's an alternative to this, right? Because you can't just like have 852 cautions and not deal with it. I get it, right? I see it from a fan's perspective going, are they ever going to finish this race? But you got to understand, we got a point average lineup system, all right? So they take the person who literally can't walk and chew gum, and they put that person on the front row every single night. And then you take a guy like, say, we'll use Tyler Kittner, who's a national championship contender right now, I believe, and I'd have to look, but I think he's tied right now for the most WISSOTA Midwest Mod wins. Hell of a season going. He has a legitimate chance to win a national championship or finish way up front. And he's got to start 8th, right? So it's not the same. When they cut the lap, it's a distinct advantage for the clown on the front row, and you already screwed over the guy that's good, and now you're going to screw him over even more by giving him 3 laps. I lost the Fall Classic that way in Alexandria, where I had just taken the lead, the yellow come out, right? They go green, white, checkered. I think it was 6 or 7 laps, and I was super pissed, right? So the alternative to that, right, the solution to that problem, and this, they did this up at the Norman County Speedway in Ada, and it was the first place that I saw. It's called Yellow Black, okay? And I think the Viking Speedway does it as well, because they have a strict curfew, so they have that. So what they do is on the first 3 cautions, if you cause the first caution, you go to the back. Second caution, you're done. That's normal, right? But after 3 cautions are done, whoever causes caution number 4 moving forward, 1 and done. 1 and done. Now, it is crazy how people get their shit together when they know that if they don't stop the race, they're getting kicked off the track. Man, it's just, all these people that, oh man, I need a push start. No, you don't. Your car kept going just fine on caution number 5, right? When you spun out the 5th time. So instead of cutting laps, because that screws over the drivers that are good, it screws over it takes away from everything. Go to the yellow black rule. The first 3 yellows is just normal how it is. 4th yellow on, if you cause that yellow, don't matter who it is, bam, you're disqualified. And I know a driver, Carter Rents, and I didn't see the incident. I saw kind of the aftermath of it, but he ended up turned around getting into 1, and I'm like, I think there was a yellow-black rule, and he commented, he said, yeah, that's what they announced before that. He goes, I don't feel like it was my own fault, but that's why I got black flagged, because it was a yellow-black rule. So cutting laps is terrible. I feel like Tyler Kittner, he got robbed of one right there. And when you're racing against Lucas Rodin, Mike Nichols, Grunwald, the Liker boys, you're racing against these guys for national championship. I'm telling you, you want every opportunity to get those laps in for sure. So please comment, everyone, because this is an interesting issue, because the racers might have a different opinion. Like I said, I see your guy travels 200 miles, races 3 laps. I mean, I understand that part too. Right. Yeah. So there's now, with that said, they conserve tires, which nowadays that's probably a good thing. So that's probably
huge.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So I went to the Sycamore Speedway again this past weekend. I was going to go to the Prairie Dirt Classic. My buddy Dave said, hey, you got to come over to Sycamore. I need some help. And man, there's something ain't right with that car. He's leading the points. He's had kind of an off night, and not kind of an off night. He got 6th, and he was pretty disappointed. And I'm going to ask you, you're a competitive guy, right? So what has a bigger impact on you? Like the jubilance that you get from winning, or do you get are your highs from winning more, or your downs from losing more?
Well, it's so interesting that you have this question. So for the other podcast we do at G.O.A.T, which is the Tea with Miss Big O, the hockey one. So we just interviewed Mike Antonovich. You remember Jeff? He's your age. Mm-hmm. So Jeff's dad played a lot of time in the World Hockey Association, the NHL, etc. Long career. And so he won 2 state titles for Greenway High School. And then the 3rd year, they lost 1 game. Yeah. I think they were kind of in your way to go into the state tournament, weren't they?
Yeah. I'm still mad about that. So I hate losing more than I like winning.
Well, well, there you go. And what he said was, so they go through their tournament his sophomore year, win it. They go through the tournament his junior year, win it. His senior year, they lose in the semifinals, end up winning, or no, they lost in the quarterfinals, end up winning consolation. And he said in the interview, it still kills me to this day. I can see that game. So I think it's the agony of defeat that really burns a guy versus the celebration of winning. What do you think?
100%. And Dave's leading points. He's got a comfortable lead. I mean, he's had a very consistent, a solid year. And I'm kind of helping him with the setups. I'm like, man, I'm maybe losing my touch. I'm like, something ain't working right here. And I'm watching, he's trying different grooves. And I'm like, what do we got to do to get the card? Just seems rigid. So we're going to make some changes again this week. And I'm like, man, we got to get that thing a little quicker. Get him up front. I kind of feel like I'm letting him down. And he's like, maybe I just don't have it. And he's like, it's like he's leading points, right? It's like, usually if you're leading points, it's like, yeah, we're doing pretty good. But it's like, we're sitting there going, this sucks. We're leading points.
Down in the dumps.
It's like it's like the most miserable, disgruntled point leader in the history of point leaders, and because, you're right. I mean, after you win a few, winning just becomes an expectation. It's like, I expect to be in that position to win. And when you don't win, it's like, I want to jump out in front of oncoming traffic. Like, seriously, I hate losing. I'm like the world's worst loser. I hate it. Like, I think I definitely, without question, hate losing more than I like winning. Speaking of Greenway, I'm still bitter about that, right? Senior year in hockey, we lost in the sectional finals there to go to state.
And you were up by a couple, right? I mean,
we were up by a couple.
You were on the yellow brick road for a while.
We were. And then the year before, right, we lost to Grand Rapids in double overtime.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, that one didn't sting quite as bad because Rapids was kind of the heavy favorite, in that one. And, the team just played really, really good in that game. But, I think back to my national championships, I got 5 WISSOTA national championships and a couple DTRA. But still to this day, what sticks out to me the most is when I got second to Eichens in 2001. It still pisses me off, right?
Really?
I'm better. And I mean, it was like literally
or
2.
Okay, I got to bring this up then. Like, it was 1 year that you got second to him at Labor Day. Was that 01?
Not to Eichens. I got second to Chucky DeSmith.
Oh, Chucky DeSmith, maybe. Okay.
Yep.
Was that 01?
That might have been 98.
Right around that time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember your mother.
I won both the 98. That would have been 2000 because that video. Okay. Yeah, one of those years anyway.
Oh, your mom was pacing in the stands. There was a caution. I had to go down. I felt like someone had to go console her, and she's like, I can't remember if she said we told him to put the hard tire on, he didn't, or we told him to put the soft tire. I can't remember. And she was furious.
Yeah. It's that one is on Dirt Race Central, by the way. If you just,
really.
I don't know why he posted that one. He posted the ones I won, but he posted that one. Thanks a lot, Ben, for that one. Appreciate it. Great call there. But needless to say, he's leading the points. He's in a good position to win the championship, and rest assured that thing's going to get in victory lane sooner rather than later. But let's take a look back at this week's action from the national scene, right? Not a ton of racing, not a ton, but really the World of Outlaw late models and the sprint cars, I think I'm looking at this, that kind of was the story. And let's start, you're a late model guy, right? Let's start with the Prairie Dirt Classic. Unbelievable. I'm going to let you, what stuck out to you? If you want to give a recap on some stuff, I mean, just what's your thoughts on the PDC this year down at Fairbury?
Yeah, well, just, first off that we got it in, because last year, so in 2019, they announced it's going to be 50,000 to win. And it's only been a handful of years. That used to be a Labor Day race, and then they moved it so it could be a World of Outlaw race. And then I think it used to be 20 grand to win. Then they announced, hey, it's 50. It's going to be big. And of course, COVID happens. Illinois basically shut down, can't get the thing in. So now 31st annual, finally get it in. So just a couple of things. So Dustin Jarrett from Dirt on Dirt, a guy that travels around. We've all seen him on camera probably, and a guy that, he goes to all kinds of tracks. But did you see he led the group in prayer the first night? I was surprised. I didn't know that was. I was like, I thought they said Dustin Jarrett's going to lead us in prayer. And I'm like, wait, really? And there he was. So I just
dirt track racing, man, God and country, dirt track racing, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So every sport, but you get that in dirt track racing,
right? I thought that was really, really cool. So And just a couple other things. So Stormy Scott, he's been running well. He ran well at I-80. He ran well, was the Hooker 50 during the week down in Davenport. Led some laps. He led preliminary stuff. And he's just so due, but he just can't. He's like you said, Bronson was getting closer and closer in June, and then finally got it done out at I-80. And I think Stormy Scott is a guy that you're going to want to keep your eye on.
And then just him, right? Those weren't those 6,000? Were they 6,000 to win each one, or $3,000?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I didn't know they were paying on them.
I didn't know either, but they had winners checks in front of them. I'd have to look back at it, but I think they each paid $6,000. I think $6,000, might have been $3,000, but I feel like it was $6,000 to win that deal. It might have been $3,000. It was one of the two, but I wasn't sure they got paid either. Because I was going to go on a rant on they're just glorified heat races, but they actually did get paid for those races.
So it was a pretty good paying show if you include the 50 and the whole. Okay. So that's kind of what I got. What do you got?
Well, that sticks out to me. Stormy's been great. 74 late models. 74. 63 UMP mods. Nick Hoffman, he was the class of the field in the mods. Kyle Larson, really? Coca-Cola 600, Kings Royal.
Right.
He won the Chili Bowl.
Chili Bowl,
he won the Prairie Dirt Classic. That's 4 crown jewels, right? 4 crown jewels in 4 completely different realms of racing. Now, he has not won a Steffes Speedstock Tour race, so I'm really not sure he's that good. But
or a Challenge Series.
Or a Super Stock Series, right? He ain't won any of that. But he's pretty good, but the jury's still out on that one. But, impressive. Now, I will say this, right? Jeff, when he sent his picks in last week, he goes, Kyle Larson's going to pass Bobby Pierce to win.
He said that?
He did. I'm like, and I just ignored it. I didn't put that down in the picks. And then he's like, I should get an extra point for that. I'm like, we're not giving you an extra point for that, but he was spot on. So exactly like he said, right? Kyle Larson is going to pass Bobby Pierce to win, and that's exactly what happened. And then I had people saying, "Oh man, how come they can't get more cars at the USA Nationals and more cars at these shows?" Well, you got to remember that weekly late model racing in Illinois is open late models. They run the same rules. That's what they run. Let's face it. If the USA Nationals, if all the late models around this area were an open late model, and I'm not saying it needs to go that way necessarily, but if they were, you could automatically add 25, 30 more cars to the USA Nationals because they'd all be ready to go. Right. So that's the difference there.
Well, let me ask you this though. So it does surprise me a little bit. So you add like G.O.A.T, Larson, Canta on the big track in Superior, Prochnow. There's the Duluth, and these guys travel. So I'm not going to count the Duluth guys. I'm going to count the guys that drove a little distance. Now, I don't think we're going to see Larson, Canta, G.O.A.T, Glenn's, throw him in there, even though he wasn't Superior. Prochnow, shoot for the World of Outlaws show Thursday night in Superior. Do you think they'd have a better chance, or Thursday night in Cedar Lake? Do you think they'd have a better chance at Cedar Lake than Superior? And it's just kind of odd because they're already there. They're going to race Friday, Saturday, they come a night early, get their parking spot.
Two things. Number one is Superior, even though it's bigger and it can be sticky, right? Cedar Lake's more of a momentum deal where I think the speed, I think no matter what, I think you need a little bit bigger engine. Superior, you need horsepower, but Cedar Lake too, but it's 100 laps, right? So all the Wasota guys, they're on methanol. There's no way they'd finish the race. But
what about the Thursday night show? So it's like 30 laps, $6,000. Even if you just get it, I guess maybe that's why, because it's the abridged show. It isn't the big one. But
I think a lot of them are just like, we got a pair of 2,500 to win shows Friday, Saturday. We'll focus on that. We don't have to buy extra tires to run with the World of Outlaws. Plus World of Outlaws sometimes they let it slide on like their fire suppression systems and all that. So I think they let them run X amount of races with the World of Outlaws. I think it's just two different things. And let's be honest. It's like Granite City, right? They had 11 late models. I think six of them were limiteds, right? Well, how good of a show is it going to be, right? So you take these, you throw a whole bunch of Wasota guys in. There's already going to be, I'm hoping to see over 40 right? 45 would be a good number for the World of Outlaws. It's already a good field. You don't need to throw in a whole bunch of guys that are 200 horse short just to fill up the field. Now in Superior, part of the reason they go there is they know that they're only going to get probably 10 to 14 open roles there. So they're like, I only got to beat 8, 10, 12 other guys to get in. So it's a totally different deal there. And puts on a good show, but I think that's the whole thing at Cedar Lake. Well, let's talk about that, right? Let's jump into the USA Nationals. It's USA Nationals week. I know you're fired up about it. Now, first thing I'm going to tell you, okay, wear a helmet, okay? Full face mask, helmet.
You know, I am. Don't worry. You're going to see some pictures. You guys turn you, and I'm going to be doing some stuff on YouTube, so make sure you guys are following on YouTube. You know, there's obviously everyone nationally is going to be there, but we're going to cover national stuff, and we're going to cover the Wazota stuff, which the national people probably won't. But yes, Ryan, going to wear a helmet.
So Puka's itinerary, number 1, okay, don't get hit in the head with a rock. Wear a helmet. Number 2, okay, bring paper towels and like don't spill all over Birchwife. Okay, don't do that. Oh, yes. Okay. Yes, so keep your drink in your cup or in your mouth. Don't be spilling all over people. All right. So
think I need a mouth guard?
Maybe, possibly. So those two things, them few things aside, let's get to the racing. You know, do you have some notes on the Fans Fund?
No, I don't actually. I just got kind of in my head kind of who's coming. I know there's a few drivers. Tony Jackson Jr. said no. Number 11. What's the number 11? Spencer Hughes said no.
Here's what I got. I got the list. So we got Jason Fagers on the list.
Yeah.
Haven't confirmed. You can tell me if you know for sure if they're coming or not. I have not heard on Fager. Bobby Pierce is on the list. He's a yes. Ashton Winger was a yes. Gordy Gundaker was a yes. Chris Simpson and Chad Simpson, I'm assuming. Have you heard of them?
They're always there. Yeah.
Yep.
Just like Fager's always there. Fager's got that. I think Fager's been in every single Fans Fund. He's got that thing down.
Yeah, and he does, and he's got that MD's been kind of pretty quick actually. Garrett Albertson, right? He's on the list. Now the kid Drake Troutman, that's one that's interesting. Have you heard from Troutman if he's coming?
I think he is. Like I said, the ones I heard are Tony Jackson, Spencer Hughes, and O'Neill. Is O'Neill on the list?
No. So they're already off the list. So Tegan Evans. That's the gal, and I think she's pretty young. I think she's a teenager. She was looking for some tires. Sounds like she's coming. Trevor Gundaker's on the list. Yeah. Ryan Unzicker, I talked to him. He is coming in his MB. The Magic Man, Mark Whitener, I have not heard in that one. That would be super cool.
You got my votes.
Yeah, I was going to say, you talk about somebody that might be throwing punches or doing something colorful. He's your guy. So I tell you what, them guys do a hell of a job with that Fans Fund deal. You know, I mean, let's face it. You know, the extra promoting that they do brings more cars, right? Oh, sure. It definitely brings more cars, you know. So, and they don't make money doing that. They go above and beyond because they love the sport, they love racing, and they do that for the overall experience. So, check that out, the Fans Fund on Facebook. They got a lot of cool activities. They got the luncheon. I think they have a golf usually, and just a super cool deal there. So
very unique. Now the only negative I hope is not happening. I'm not saying this is happening. I'm hoping that some drivers don't come because they're like, well, I'm just not going to go until I get in the Fans Fund. You know what I mean? So I hope that's not happening.
I think you know what I mean? People might say that or play the game, but I just don't see that.
Yeah.
I just don't. You know, everybody uses an excuse. They have an excuse, but I just don't see that. Now, so the Fans Fund's super cool. Now, what is the one thing, Puka, that you personally want to see this weekend at the USA Nationals?
Well, what I'm most interested in seeing is the Mars Glens. I mean, I'm bringing it local. I mean, I don't think they've raced together since the Masters. Like I said, 2 weeks ago for the 5,000 show, Jimmy gets, let's just call it a first lap flat. So they really haven't been side by side. So we're going to get 2 nights, and those two are going to be running towards the front. What's going to happen?
Are you sure on that? Right? Here's the question I have. Is Jimmy going to run both cars, or is he just going to focus on the open car?
Well, I guess that could happen. See, last year he ran the first night and the second night because he started towards the front there. He chose not to run the second car.
I'm going to knock on wood because I'm with you. I want to see them two side by side. and I want to see Glenn's truck a slider. I want to see him throw a death slide on the 28. I want to see how he responds.
I just want to see what, especially if Glenn's passes him, what's going to happen. And I'm hoping Tyler McDonald shows up after, Tyler McDonald made his name in our area, in the region, a year ago. That was when it was like the coming out party, like, who the hell is this number 5 in this white car? Like, led many laps. I think he ended up third. I think G.O.A.T and Glenn's got by him in the end. So
there could possibly be one more South Dakota entrant.
Yes.
Stay tuned. We'll get to that in a little bit.
That's right. So what are you most looking to see, or what watching for? Hoping
One thing I'm super excited about, from what I understand, there's only 2 classes per night now. So last year they ran the USRA late models all 3 nights, and got a little bit long. You don't need 3 classes. Tip of the cap to Cedar Lake. It sounds like night 1 is USRA late models and the World of Outlaws, the first night, and then night 2 is going to be the Twin Heats deal, and then the Cedar Lake, which would be the Wasota type late models, and then night 3 would be the feature, the 100-lap feature, and of course another full show of late models. So super excited for that. Another thing that sticks out is the Mars series was scheduled to come, and they're no longer coming. They just could not get the support, and they really don't have a huge following. Some of the guys are already coming that follow that. I think Heck and Ask Ransom shows. I think Brian Shirley sounds like he's coming over, but they're not really gaining anything there. But what I want to see, if I got to, if I had one thing that I really want to see, is I want to see multiple lead changes, right? In all the races. I mean, all race fans do. The heat races at Cedar Lake have, over the past year or 2, they haven't been very good. Right. The heat races have been really dirty, hard to move around on, kind of gritty. The feature races have been good. The feature races, for the most part, have been good. But I want to see some good quality racing on the qualifying races. Not just the A main. And
I got a comment on that, because I noticed, especially last year, I specifically remember, and I think even if you look back at some of the lives Bert and I did, we kind of said in the heat races, just as they were starting to widen out, they go to intermission, it'd be changing from World of Outlaws to the Cedar Lake late models or vice versa. And then the tractors are out there. I was like, gosh, just leave it. It was just starting to widen out. And so, you're right.
Again, exactly.
Yeah.
So just let that track widen out like it gets, and let them race all over the place. I know the place is going to be jam packed. I mean, and the driver's introductions there for the 100-lapper it's just amazing. I mean, that's worth the price of admission right there. But it's going to be good. I hope Mother Nature cooperates. I haven't even looked at the forecast. I'm just going to hope that it's going to be good. I'm not going to be there. You and Bert are going to be there. I will be watching it online. I can promise you that. We're going to get to our predictions later, but really quick. I mean, the local late models and the open late models. We'll get to the open late models, I guess, in a minute. But the local late models, who do you think? Who's your pick to win night 1 and night 2 of the local late models over there?
Oh, like I said, until someone dethrones Glenn's, you got to give it to Glenn's. I was there 2 weeks ago. He looked fantastic. So until someone can dethrone him, I'm with Jesse Glenn's I know we're going to get to some more predictions on the World of Outlaws side, but I would rather, if you ask me, would you rather, I'd rather Pierce than Bishop this weekend. What are your thoughts on the local Cedar Lake?
Glenn's is tough. Another guy that he just ain't racing much, but he's in the conversation all the time. You got to keep an eye on AJ Emo. That 58 is a rocket ship. So, I do have a bold prediction. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm really going to go out on a limb. I'm going to stretch myself. I predict it's going to be an MB that wins the local late models.
You're really going out there.
Really going on a limb. Yeah, there might not be any other cars. Sorry, Pat Dork. Okay, no disrespect to Pat Dork. He's been running really good, but the MBs have got it under control. Now, that's it. We're going to have a lot more to talk about with the USA Nationals next weekend. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars did not disappoint. 2 incredible features this past weekend. Did you watch any of the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yes. What'd you think? Go ahead and take you go.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Mr. Late Model Guy himself. Oh, yeah, for sure. He did. All right. So, night 1, Reitzel at Ransomville. Aaron Reitzel, you got her done. But really, the story that night, man, oh man, I don't have his name necessarily in front
I got it. I got it if you need it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Polly Kalagiviani. Polly Kalagiviani is how you pronounce it.
It's something along those lines, and I don't have it in front of me here.
Kalagiviani. Yeah, it's a handful. It might be a little bit Italian. Kalagiviani. Provenzinos probably know him.
Giovanni. That's
Giovanni. There we go.
That's what it is. So I'm telling you, he put on a hell of a show.
Oh.
He was a local guy. I guess he's only entered 5 shows. That was only the first feature he's made this year in the 410s. And it's like he's like tracking him down, and he gave Reitzel everything he could handle that night one. And the crowd was on their feet, just having a local guy in the hunt. He ran pretty well. I think he had a top 10 on night 2 up there as well. But Reitzel got it done. But that guy, that Paulie Colagiovanni is his name. That guy right there, I've never heard of him in my entire life. When they first announced it, when I looked up, I'm like, what? Who? Like, I never heard that name before. And he was impressive. And then night 2, Buggy Bobby strikes again. So night 1, Sheldon Hodenchild, right rear flat, weird. He's so hard on his right rear tire.
Running 4th. He was 4th. He just got into 4th.
We should go back and look how many times he lost a right rear tire this year in the top 5.
Yeah.
Over and under on that, it's got to be, I'd put the number at 6, but it might be more than that.
It might be.
Yeah, I mean, he's lost a lot of right rears. But on night 2, he had it done. He was going to win. Had it absolutely won. 2 laps to go. Kind of had his eyes closed. Drove over. Well, McFadden came down on him. He did. So he's got into lap traffic. McFadden come down. I don't think he expected it. Sheldon yard sailed him and got spun around in a circle. Gave away the lead because of. I mean, even without a no fault deal, I think you call it on him because he just drove right into him. I mean,
it was like, oh my gosh, and how much of that do you? I mean, your pit guy, your stick guy. You know what I mean? It's like he was stretching it out, right? He was stretching it out, and like I said, the thing that non-racers got to remember: there's no rear view mirrors. You don't know where the person is, and because sometimes people say, "Oh God, I kept driving so hard." Well, they don't know where second place is. All you see is a screen, and unless you're Kyle Larson, looking at, like you said, I was looking at the big screen, kind of watching Pierce, but so. Yeah, tough call, but tough break.
Those things are so fast, right? They got such fast closing speed that I don't know about. I guess I haven't really paid attention. I know they got stick guys in every other class. Do you see much for stick guys really all that active in the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. And like Larson said, he said, I don't like to use stick guys. Right. He said in his interview. So maybe guys don't. I don't know. But yeah, he was stretching out. He was gone. And then, you run into a back marker.
If my buddy Chongo would have been up there or Mike Mackey giving signals, I had a couple of guys that did that, he would have won that race because he would not have drove over the lapper. He must have had a straightaway. I mean, come on. Yeah. But, David Gravel got it done. Now, this week, I-55, 2 shows Friday. It's the night before the Ironman, 8,000 to win at I-55 in Missouri. Saturday, the Ironman 55. Now, this must be the longest World of Outlaw sprint race of the year. 55 laps. 55 laps. Yep. So 2 years ago, Sheldon Hodenchild lapped like 3rd or 4th place in that deal. He just thumped them, and Kyle Larson won it last year. I have not seen if Kyle Larson's coming. $20,000 to win on that one. So big weekend. USA Nationals, right? And then you got the Ironman at I-55. Two big races coming up. So what do you say we get to it? Some time for some who's hot and who's not, brought to you by.
Yes, we got a new partner. So we have a new official drink of the One to Go show and Go Sports, and it's right here. So it's Blue Line Brews. All right, so the best coffee in the market, pretty new company. But the big thing about Blue Line Brews is, and I've got a stakeout right here, bag of stakeout, and I have the Detective Special right here, but 10% of their profits go back to families of officers who have fallen in the line of duty. All right. And we know race fans, and they know race fans support the men and women in blue. So that's why they wanted to come on board with the One to Go show. So they will now be the official drink of the One to Go show. So as always, we will have their information down. Blue Line Brews, just click on the link. You get over to their website. You can check out all the brews over there. And especially for those of you that have, no law enforcement people, or maybe you got some law enforcement people in their family, like I said, get their website out to them. Like I said, copy, text it, or message it right from the, scroll down from the feed here, because like I said, they're fairly new, and we're going to be talking about them a lot. Coffee season, it's July or August, for beginning of August, but coffee season is coming. We're going to head into the fall and the winter here. So Blue Line Brews, like I said, 10% of the profits go back to families of fallen officers. So it's a great company, great brews, and for a great cause.
And one of our own, right? One of our own, our sprint car expert, Keith, he's in law enforcement, right? So he served our country, right, in the Air Guard, but he's also in law enforcement now. So we definitely do support the blue, back the blue for sure. So thank you guys for that. So who do you have? Who's hot right now for Team Puka?
All right. Well, we talked a little bit earlier about Tyler Kittner, winning and hitting again, possibly time. I think he got 13 or 14?
14.
Yeah, so 14.
Banner number one in Midwest Mods.
Yeah, so banner year. I can't take anything away from him. And then his relative Jay Kittner, so he wins at Hibbing, and 3 wins all of a sudden. And Jay has put it together here in the month of July. So I'd have to say, Jay Kittner pretty hot there. And then, like I said, Buggy Bobby Sheldon, he fought her up to 4th place, gets a flat tire on Friday. He's leading by a long shot on Saturday, and he tangles. But, he's hot because, like I said, I was picking him in late June. I picked him at Cedar Lake over the 4th. And, he went from hero to zero. And as soon as I stopped picking him, he started picking up again with some great ones, starting at the King's Royal. Now he's kind of put it together. So, Buggy Bobby, who you got?
So, Jake Smith. Okay, you remember Bob Smith?
Oh, yeah.
It's Kelly Estes' brother. Just kidding, Kelly. Boy, them two, they went at it for years. Remember claiming back and forth, they hated each other.
Yeah.
Bob Smith ran a mod for a long time, but Jake Smith, 19 years old, dude, he's got 9 feature wins. It's officially his rookie year. 3 straight weekends he won at Montevideo and Madison.
Wow.
So 3 straight weekends, and then he won Sunday over at the Granite City Motor Park as well. So 7 wins in the last 3 weeks, 9 on the year. Jake Smith has been really good in that Midwest mod. Dave Flynn, he's up there in the power rankings. It's tough to be ahead of, Sabraski and Burdick and all them, but 3 wins on the Fastlane Superstock Series, and he won the series championship by a narrow margin. Pat Dorr, 8 of his last 9 in the top 2, right? Or in the top 3. 8 of the last 9, and he got second in the first race. That was my pick to win, but he got second in the first race at the Twin 25s, second at the 444 Tanner Byhome Memorial. Pat Dorr is trending up. He's really been solid. And then Dan Ebert. I added one more in here. He's ran 5 with soda shows, and here's the deal. Remember I said he moved down to Charlotte? He moved back to Minnesota. He moved back to Minnesota. He's still going to run most of the USMTS, but he's got 5 with soda shows. His worst finish was a 6 over in Ashland, but 3 Advantage RV Mod Tour shows. He had 2 firsts and a second, and then he won the Bob Gerke Memorial. So I tell you, that 60 car gets in the area. He's going to run the money shows. You're going to know he's there for sure. So who's not?
Well, let me circle back real quick to Pat Dorr. So some good finishes and such, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I was watching the Rice Lake Challenge Series race where Jimmy Mars won over the veteran Steve Larson, had led a lot of laps. I didn't see Pat Dorr anywhere around there. Do you know if he was
been his one finish? He got 9th. That was his one back, and it was actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the last 9 were in the top 5. 1 5th, 1 4th, and 1 3rd. The other 6 were all top 2. So I mean, he's been solid. So Pat Dorr, he's only got 4 wins, but I'm telling you, he's been in the conversation. And let's be honest, Rice Lake it's tough to get around that place.
Yeah,
it's tough to pass there. It really. Well,
Mars commented on that. He said it could be a tough place to pass. He said so.
And I don't think G.O.A.T went, right. He didn't go to Rice Lake.
Yeah, actually, I don't remember seeing him.
You know what? Pat Dorr didn't go to Rice Lake.
Okay, I was going to say I didn't know if he went.
Dorr didn't go. Glenn's didn't go because he went to Shawano. They rained out. G.O.A.T didn't go. And basically all their comments were, I think Dorr maybe had something going on with the car. There was a little issue, is what he said. But I know that I talked to a few drivers. I'm not going to mention names, and they're like, it ain't been real racy, so I'm just not excited to go there. I mean, I've seen the place good, but it's tough to prepare for a late model. It really is, because if you don't run late models weekly at your track, and it's typically a hard surface, it can get locked down. So it's a different track prep. I think it requires more, and that's why Pat Dorr wasn't there. That's right. Okay. I forgot about that. So,
all right. So you asked me who's not. So I'll give you a few here. So Devin Van House, we talked about him a couple weeks ago. Again, he's a guy that, again, 3 to 5 feature wins. If someone would have told me in April this year, I predict Devin Van House to have 3 to 5 feature wins, I would have said, yeah, I think you're in the area. And we just haven't seen it. I don't believe he has one, does he?
I think he's got one.
He's got one? Okay. So, Twin 25 just, was never really in the conversation. Donnie Schatz led some laps on Saturday night, not Friday night, but Saturday night, led some laps. And last I counted him, he was, back to 6. So just, that win, that next win after getting, was it 300?
Right.
It's like, it's got to be a chore, for Donnie. So just cooled off. And then Cade Dillard, guy we talked about a lot last year, was your 3rd place in the World of Outlaw late models. Just, cool as ice. Again, at Fairbury, you didn't really hear anything about Cade Dillard. Got the Mars car. Obviously, he'll be hooked up with Jimmy at the USA Nationals. Maybe they could find something or turn something around. But for right now, I got Cade Dillard in the freezer. How about you?
Jimmy Owens. I mean, he's been a non-factor. I mean, I know he's coming up to the USA Nationals. Let's see if he can do something. But, he actually started towards the front. I think he was maybe up in the 3rd row, something like that, maybe 4th row at the Prairie Dirt Classic. And he just, I don't know, he hooked the parachute up and he hit the gas and it just sucked him straight backwards. He's been a non-factor all year long, which sucks. He's one of the good guys in racing, and he had such a good year last year. Dustin Strang. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. I mean, just crazy. And I know this past weekend, he obviously barrel rolled the modified. And then I think it was up in Grand Forks it was in Grand Forks on Friday. He was there. He was up in the top 3, 4, and all of a sudden the guy crossed it up and he had nowhere to go. He got caught up, and it's not his own deal. He's just got stuff happening. It's just he's having the worst season ever. And he got just absolutely land blasted. I know Tom Corcoran got involved with that incident. It wasn't his fault either. He just got caught up into it. But I talked to Dustin, and I said, you going to Devil's Lake? He goes, with the Midwest mod, I'm leaving the late model at home. I'm just burnt out. And Jason Tennis told me this one time. He says, when you're going through hell, you got to keep going. You don't want to get stuck there, right? And that's where he's at now. It's like, dude, you need to start racing more to get out of this slump, because maybe that's the theory. And then Ricky Weiss, right? I mean, it's just this he's coming back to a home area, right? I'm not saying a home track, but he's coming back to the upper Midwest here for the USA Nationals, and there's going to be a lot of 7 fans there. There's a lot of people pulling for him. There's a lot of people looking at Ricky going, man, we want to see you up in the podium. Could he possibly get on the podium at Cedar Lake?
Oh, I think it's possible. 2 things. He performed much better at I-80. We saw that.
Yep.
Like I said, they did some testing that previous week out at Ada after they left Cloud Superior. So he did look much better. Secondly, was it 3 years ago? The year before he got on the tour in the Cedar Lake portion, he put a smackdown on, we know that 99% of the features are won at Cedar Lake are won by a Mars car. And he come in there with that Bloomquist car in that local thing, and there was a lot of chatter in the pits and a lot of time. Oh, geez, look, you see that? There's one guy that can come in here and beat these Mars cars, and he only races here 2 times a year or 3 times a year. So he definitely knows how to get around Cedar Lake. What do you think?
And I tell you, he's talented. The kid flat out knows how to drive a race car. There's no question about it. And really one of his primary sponsors, J.R. Haley, that's his home area. That's kind of his home track. So I can tell you there might be just a little bit more pressure on Ricky to perform at a high level at this particular race than any other race, maybe the Grand Forks one. But, man, we'd like to see Weiss up front. He's had not a good year, but like you said, at I-80, he was pretty competitive there. Not great at Fairbury, but he's not – I shouldn't say he's not a turn and burn guy, because the guy's he's won a pile of races in Grand Forks, right?
Right.
so I shouldn't even say that. He seems to become more of a momentum guy, but he can flat out get up on the wheel. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. So let's talk about the picks from this last week, okay? Some people kind of closing the gap there. Keith got one. He had gravel over at Weedsport. Bert, he got one. Gravel at Weedsport as well. Jeff had two. Nope, no extra credit. Sorry, you're not getting extra credit. You're just getting one. He had Larson, and then he had Daryl Nelson at Gondik. I was surprised by that pick, and he was right on the money. And then me, you, and Pete, yeah, no, we didn't get none. So the current standings, 18 for me, but Bert closed the gap. Is he at 16 or 17 now? I got to take a look at that. I think he's 2 behind me, but he might be 1. I better take a look back at that.
Yeah, Jeff, you better.
Yeah, I think I might have pencil whipped him here a little bit. I better take a look at that. Jeff's at 14.
It's a free buggy model, whoever wins this deal.
Yeah, he's going to have to make one. So, yeah, Pete and Puka didn't get anything. Keith closed the gap up a little bit. He's up over 10 at 11. Remember, he was down in the cellar not too long ago. So things are getting interesting. This week, we're picking the 2 World of Outlaw Sprint Car shows at I-55. The USA Nationals, we're going to pick the Thursday portion and the Saturday portion both. And then the World of Outlaw late models are at Outagamie Speedway on Tuesday. We're going to pick that one as well. We'll have all of our picks. If you're looking on Facebook, you see it. If you're listening on the podcast, you'll see our picks if you watch the show. This week, okay, if we had to pick one, okay, our sure bet of the week. Who do you got?
Jesse Glenn's Friday night, Cedar Lake. Put my money where my mouth is.
You know what? I'm going to be a little bit bold on this one. I'm taking Chris Smokey Madden to win $50,000 at the USA Nationals.
Well, he was, he looked all right too. Get back to these 100-lap races now. He didn't do too well. Or was he even at I-80, or did he race locally? I can't remember. I think he was at I-80.
He took that weekend off.
Yeah, so you go back to the Firecracker end of June, and he was in the conversation there in the 100-lap race. So yeah, I think that's a solid pick. 100-lap race at Cedar Lake, winning.
He won.
Winning in 2019 in a Bloomquist car. Passing Bishop late, he looked good. So he's won there before. He's an experienced driver. He knows the 100-lap deal. I think that's solid.
Yeah, I'm taking Madden there. So let's get to it. The last lap, of course, brought to you by Zuli's Race Engines. In a couple winners here. So Alan Olafson, I don't know if you knew that. He's got a Zuli race engine in there 2 in a row over at the home of the Chicken Shack, Bemidji. And here's the deal. He started 4th row in both. He started 8th. So 8th to 1st in both. So great run for the legend in 77.
Must have been a high side.
It had to have been because he was an old hustler around the cushion. He was fun to watch. Blake Whitlock won over in Miller in a super stock. Parker Anderson won at the Cedar Lake Speedway. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the last lap here, but congrats to him. Kyle Jeanette over at the Red Cedar Speedway. So, get a hold of Frank, Zuli Race Engines. I mean, you just go to his Facebook page, and they post the winners every week, and there's multiple winners every single week, right? Some would call that a clue, right? Some would call that a clue. So get a hold of them. They'll take good care of you. But let's get to it. Let's kind of do a rapid fire. This one will be a little bit longer right here, but the Fastlane Superstock Series, Puka, it wrapped up this past weekend. I know that you watched up at Gondik. You talked about Timmy Johnson rolling over. He was the point leader. It just went from bad to worse. It went from worse to not very good the next couple nights. But he won in Grand Rapids. Gondik, like I said, Dave Flynn won. ABC Raceway, the race of the series. That one went to Kevin Burdick, and I think somebody has it on Facebook. I think Steve Stewart might have that on his Facebook page, but him, Stewart, Flynn, Oreskovich, they were swapping the lead over and over and over in lap traffic. It was incredible. It wasn't on Dirt Race Central because they had so much going on, but it was a great race up at Ashland. And then the Halverline Speedway. So coming into the final night, Proctor, Minnesota, Kevin Burdick had a 4-point lead going into the final show of the night, right? And Burdick's got to learn how to draw. He's got to learn how he drew in the back. Heat races were narrow. Flynn won his heat. Kevin Burdick got not second, not third, not fourth, not fifth. Your current national point leader got 6th. Count them, 6th in the heat. Well, that does not bode well with a 4-point lead. So he coming into the feature, Flynn had a 1-point lead starting 5th. Kevin Burdick starting 21st on the grid, right? So Burdick had to beat Flynn to win it. He had to beat Flynn to win the championship, and he's working his way up through the pack, and all of a sudden coming out of turn 2, bam, a whole bunch of cars are piled up, right? And there's Flynn right in the mix of it. It's like, what's happening? Because I was watching it on Burdick's live feed on their Facebook page, and somebody texted me. They said they called it. They said it's on Flynn by himself. That's what the announcer said, but he was misspoken. Sounds like Kyle Cott maybe got in the back of him and turned it around. You couldn't see it very good on that video. And Flynn got his spot back, goes on to win the feature. Burdick 21st to 2nd. And he didn't really get all that close. He struggled to get by second. They kind of swapped back and forth, a little tin swapped or whatever. But Dave Flynn's been really good. But Burdick, I mean, 21st to 2nd, I mean, what an effort, right? I mean, what an effort. I mean, he did everything he could to get it done, but Flynn won the championship. A great series. They had really good car counts at that throughout. Wow. But we have a fan question, okay? So the fan question of the week brought to you by Cowboy Up Racing. Follow them on Facebook. That's Shane Howell. You trust me. You want to follow that on Facebook. The guy's a hoot, right? I mean, he's absolutely hilarious half the time. But so the same guy, he says anonymous, okay? But the same guy that asked last week, now I don't remember. Do you remember, Puka, last week that Jesse Radetsky was running second, and they kind of had a boxcar start there. Cars got wadded up. They called it on the 207. I still think that was the wrong call. He left the series after that. Well, they had a similar incident in Proctor, right? And it wadded again, like half the field was wadded up in the middle of the back straightaway. It was like a parking lot. Nobody went to the back. Nobody. They're like,
you must listen to the One to Go show.
Right. But you got to call on somebody. I mean, they didn't put nobody to the back, right? So what's your thoughts on that? I mean, Tom Nesbitt, I remember a night in Casson in the late models where nobody went to the back and he went absolutely postal. Man, that's a tough call, though. I mean, I guess if they don't see it, they don't know who caused it because, you know, some people said, hey, it was a second-place car. Other people said it was a guy back in the 4th row. I guess if you don't have a really good view and you're not really sure who kind of caused it, what's a guy do in that situation?
Well, and that's the one area in Wazota that's always been like the no-fault rule where sometimes at a start, you know, and you know, like especially 20 years ago and, you know, more, you know, I guess my whole time in racing, sometimes when it's at the start and something happens, they just kind of let it go and everyone gets their spot back. You know, you've seen it. I mean, that's the kind of how it was when you were racing sometime, right? And even some guys would, if they knew they got a bad start, remember they'd coast off. And if you waited for a push truck, you got your spot back kind of thing, you know, which seemed like a weird rule even into the late 90s. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a gray area. It's kind of like when you're playing hockey, you know, if you're playing hockey and you're in front of the net, the puck's there and you get hunted from behind, there's not going to be a penalty. You know, it's like playing on the line in football. You know, it gets kind of dirty in there and there's not going to be a call. And I think that's the one area in the sport where sometimes things are just overlooked. I don't know why, not being a racer, maybe I could put that back on you, but yeah, I mean,
it's one of those.
I'm not surprised when there is a call, but I'm not surprised when there's not a call in those situations.
Right. So again, he asked, well, should the series director overrule that? No, absolutely not, right? Because the series director, their job is to get the cars there. They let the tracks make the calls. They stay out of that. They let them do their job. His job, and he did a great job of it, was getting the drivers there, supporting the series, getting the sponsors, thanking people for coming, putting money in the hands of the racers. That's his job, right? And if he has to start hiring employees, that money is going to come out of the pockets of the racers, right? You know, if he's going to hire, you know, I had the discussion. It's like I had fun announcing the series last year, but you know, the better half was not going to let me spend $2,000 to travel all over and do it for free. I needed to get my expenses covered. He's like, kind of don't want to have to pay any employees. I'm like, I get it. He wants the money to go back to the racers. I was a racer. I appreciate that, you know. But if he has to start hiring an announcer, flag guy, corner guys, well, either A, he's going to have to go get more sponsorship money by a lot, or B, the money's coming out of the point fund, and we don't want that. So I think they do the right thing there by letting the tracks make that call. And sometimes if you're not sure, you're better off saying, I don't know. I didn't see it. I can't. You can't just pick a guy, right? They did that already. They did that with Jesse. well, we're just going to put him to the back. Well, it was a wrong call, right?
Yeah.
Pissed him off. He left the series. So you can't just pick a guy. If you're not 100% sure, it is what it is. I mean, especially when there's a parking lot, you can't put them all to the back. You know what I mean? So really good series. Dennis McCauley, I tell you what, when it comes to promoting a series, he does a great job. Another series that was impeccable this year, Puka, the Steffa Street Stock Tour. They had a couple. They finished up their series. Parker Anderson dominated, right? I mean, he flat out dominated. He had it locked up a couple weeks ago. But Red Cedar Speedway, a guy that's been really good all year, Kyle Jeanette, he got his first win over in Menominee. And then how about this? A WISSOTA-sanctioned event.
Yeah. Oh, it was. So we were wondering about that.
We were wondering that. Dustin Dowdy told me that. And how cool is that? WISSOTA-sanctioned street stocks at Cedar Lake. Could that be the start of more? Could that be the start of maybe some Midwest Mod, maybe some supers? Who knows, right? I would love to see it. I mean, WISSOTA really could use Cedar Lake back in the mix again. And Parker Anderson got that one done. So great to see that. NLRA late models. Did you watch any of that? It was kind of hard to see. Norman County was not on. I didn't see any video of that, but the Devil's Lake Speedway was. If you ever want to watch the Devil's Playground, Devil's Lake Speedway, it's on Darn TV. They got some good coverage up there. So, Puka, they had 2 NLRA late model races this past weekend. Night 1 went to Don Shaw. Sounds like Ada kind of got a little bit locked down there. Devil's Lake Speedway, Bryce Sword was impressive. Impressive. I think he's only like 17, isn't he?
Yeah, we talked about him. He won at Jackson. He won the repairable vehicles tri-state portion down at Jackson.
He was super impressive as well at I-94 when he chased down Moss and then he climbed the fence, right? And he got back down and he still made a run at him. But Gresseth was leading the majority of that race run at the bottom, and Edgington got by him, and here comes Bryce Sword up on the high side. And just a testament to the track, multiple lanes of racing over there. It was incredible. But Gresseth ended up getting second. So coming into the weekend, coming into the night, Edgington, remember, he took the point lead over last week when Gresseth drove off the end of turn 1 in Grand Forks. Well, now on the final lap or 2 to go, Edgington broke a spindle. His tire fell off. I think it was on the last lap. And so he ended up getting a DNF. So Gresseth got second, and he retook the point lead a couple races this weekend up there. So it's getting interesting. It's really kind of a race between Gresseth and Edgington. Shaw, or not Shaw, but Sang is kind of in the mix, right? He's kind of in the mix. But Dustin Strand, he hasn't even been at the last 2. His season is just he's ready for 2021 to be over. He is looking forward to the next year. Now, another one here that I was looking at some notes last night, Puka, and you don't have this in your notes. So we've been talking a lot about Tony Liker. He's been stacking wins. He's at 14, 24th to 1st at Sheridan. Okay, and then I looked. Yeah, that was solid, right? Troy Liker, 21st to 3rd. Then Matt Heinzerling, who stole a win from Nichols and Liker last week, he got 2 last week, 22nd to 5th. And I'm like, so at first I'm like, that's impressive. Then my next question was, why the hell did these like good guys start so deep? What happened? So I messaged Troy Liker. I'm like, good run, but why did you guys all start in the back? They didn't pack. So at the beginning of the night, right? So remember I said in Shawano, people kept their cars loaded up. Evidently, they said at the pit meeting, they said, if you don't pack, you're starting in the back of all races. So they had to start in the back of the heat, and they had to start in the back of the feature.
Wow, interesting.
So that was good for the crowd. I mean, you see somebody go from 24th to 1st, that must have been a hell of a show. But I want you to think about something here, right? So a couple things really come to mind. Number one, a lot of drivers are prima donnas. They don't want to pack. They don't want to get the car dirty. Half of them don't even bring a scraper with them, okay? But the fact that somebody went from 24th to 1st tells you that they had a good racetrack. And the fact that they had to pack tells you that they had water on it to start the night.
Kind of helps.
I'm just saying, right? So it all kind of goes hand in hand, but so that's pretty cool.
Was it part of that series out there? Because that's a good car count too. I mean, I lived out west. Car counts out there, you get 10 in a class because it's so spread out. You know,
they get a bunch of Midwest mods.
Okay, so just at that track, or was that part of the series?
There's no series out there for that. That was just
Oh, I thought there was some Midwest mod series out west.
That's over. Yeah, that's over. Yeah, that was only a 4-race series at Sheridan at Big Sky. It was all in the same weekend. Tony Liker went 4 for 4 on that one. But yeah, they get some pretty good car counts. I've been looking at the Midwest mod counts over there, and they're over 20 pretty much every night. I mean, they're pretty solid as far as Midwest mods go. So, Hoosier tires, okay? So a lot of people are not racing, right?
Tough.
Tardy's not racing, no tires. Now I'm starting to see on Facebook people are even looking for used ones. And I actually talked to Blake over at Hoosier. So first of all, I understand Hoosiers are just like toilet paper, right? Let's be honest. You use them more than one time.
Hoosier. The Wazota
Hoosier. Yeah, you use them more than one time, they're pretty shitty, right? And that's if you can find them. You can't even get them in the store because of just people hoarding them, right? Well, they haven't made tires. So there's multiple issues here. Rumor has it that they're supposed to be coming out end of this week with 26.5s, which would be fronts and left rears, okay? But I was told they're not even going to have right rears until next week. They didn't have them. 70 employees short, 2,800 man hours a week. There's the shortage, okay? So you can't get them. You know, I talked to a few different guys that are like, we can't get tires. And now what I've been told is when the tires do come in, only the trackside vendors are going to have access, and they're going to be like a ration where they can get, depending on how many they get, like they're going to spread it all out. Everybody can get 1, everybody can get 2. Okay, so they're not going to have enough tires to like get ahead of the curve here where they're at. But the other problem that runs in is they're coming straight off of production to on the car. So if I were a driver and I wasn't racing for points or whatever, I talked to Tardy about this. You just get the tires. You almost got to let them sit for 2 weeks because they got to cure. People are putting these brand new tires on and they're like melting them. They're like literally just they're not cured. So the rubber's just coming right off them. So huge issue with Hoosier Tire. And we'll see what happens at the end of this week. It's going to be interesting to see how many come in, but it ain't looking – I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. So another thing, Puka, what town were you born and raised in?
Chisholm, Minnesota, baby. How about you?
Right there. We got a brand new favorite driver. Jim Chisholm, okay? You ever heard of this guy? You ever heard of this cat? Jim Chisholm. Okay, so I'm looking for some notes here. Jim Chisholm has been on a tear, right? He's got a pile. He's the USRA Midwest Mod Point or B Mod Point leader, okay? But he just got done winning the K-Town Clash. Casey Knudsen, young guy, passed away. He was a regular Mississippi Thunder. 12,000 to win in the B Mod. 12 grand to win, right? And I think it was less than 1,000 for second because I think the sponsor put most of it on top. But I gotta be honest. I saw that name. I'm like, I gotta cheer for that cat right there. Anyone with the last name Chisholm's got to be cool. You know, he's got double-digit wins. He's on the podium about every night. I mean, he's really good. He was really fun to watch. Alex Williamson, who we've had in the power rankings, he got second in that. He just jumped in a guy's car. He got second. Really good race, most of it. He was on the bottom. Chisholm was on the top. Really good race. Another name, you probably never heard of this guy, Rodney Sanders.
Yeah, I do not recall. Recall. Rookie? Might
be his first year. Somebody said he might run a mod in a late, maybe a USMTS championship or two. He got second in the heat. He started in the first row. Now, before coming into the show, there was people belly aching online. He shouldn't be able to race. Leave that money to the B-Mod guys, blah, blah, blah. Well, he started on the front row, got second in the heat. Okay, so that tells you right there, like, okay, he's human. And then he DNF'd in the feature. I want to know your thoughts as a fan, okay? Should a high-profile guy like him be able to jump in? I mean, you can use him. You can use RTJ. You can use, any of these guys, right? But if you're at a high level, should you be able to come down into a lower class and run at these specials? What's your
Absolutely. I mean, that's a promoter's dream. That brings us back to the old outlaw days when you put some money up and Billy Moyer shows up. You know, I mean, Billy Moyer was so far ahead. I mean, they were all late models, but they didn't have what Billy Moyer had. They didn't have a Larry Shaw, you know. I mean, you know, it was so no, that's the great thing about being a promoter. You put some money up, you take the gamble as a promoter, and then you hope some of these big names show up. Now, what's the first thing people are going to think about next year if they do this same race for 12,000 win? Rodney Salmon going to show up again? Maybe some other guy, you know, is another guy going to pick up. So no, I think it's great. And feel free to comment here, race fans, but I think it's fantastic. You know, $12,000. The World of Outlaw late models tomorrow night at Outer Gaming are racing for 10. Right? I mean, so the B-Mods racing for 12. And Sanders just won, what, 2 weeks ago, was it? 3 or right around the 4th. He won in the late model and the mod at Mississippi. So he knows they get around the place. It was kind of a natural. What do you think?
100% agree, right? You know, we love the David versus Goliath. We talked about whatever it is, Cola Giovanni. You know, that's a David versus Goliath deal. That's a local guy, right, racing against the World of Outlaws. That is good TV. That's what we want to see. So Rodney Sanders, Ryan Gustin's coming. He's run some big shows down there. You know, of course, RTJ. I want to see that. As a fan, I want to see that. As a driver, Jim Chisholm, I guarantee, welcome the challenge. He's leading the USRA National Championship race for the V-Mods. Right now, he's probably got that attitude, I don't care who you are. Come on. Like, this is my class. I don't care how good you are in a late model or a modified. This is a different class. This is a different car. Come race me.
And well, that's part of the lure of the little dream. Who's going to show up? Who's going to jump? Stabrowski's been there. Moss.
Dave Moss. Dave Moss tested last week. He won it.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, let's see what Dave Moss. I mean, that's I've always said that was. I mean, 20 years ago, I always thought Wazota. It's like, gosh, if Wazota could do a 20,000 to win race, how many of these World of Outlaw or, you know, UDTRA or Have a Tampa guys might come down? You know, it'd be cool to see that this guy come to our level instead of us always having to reach to their level. So I think it's great.
I 100% agree. Now, a little follow-up. So last week I gave James Trentina a donkey award or a few, right? And so I got a little follow-up on that, the ticket scandal. Remember I said that kind of accusing some high-profile drivers? Well, turns out that the person did get fired. So there was a person that was, I don't know the names, and I'm not going to get into all that, but my sources tell me, and I actually had a conversation with James. I was on the phone with him. It was a good conversation. But he said that person got fired, and they did in fact get caught, and he didn't intend for that to be necessarily a threat. Some drivers took it as a threat, for sure. Some of them were like, he's threatening me, and that's how I even knew about it. But he's like, I'm just warning you, like some people ain't going to be so lenient. And let's be honest, your hero, right? One of my heroes too, Tom Nesbitt, was the king of sneaking into racetracks. And then he was the king of saying they don't pay enough, right?
Yeah.
Racers, okay, if you're a racer, just police yourself on this. I mean, you really got to. I mean, most tracks are struggling, right, to just kind of keep going. Don't be sneaking in, right? Don't be sneaking in. And then Danny Thomas, we talked about T40. There was an altercation, and there's two sides to every story, you know. And I talked to James. He goes, absolutely, I put my hands on him. He goes, I did. His side of the story was, you know, a little different, right? But evidently, you know, things get heated, right? He came down, he got in the wall, he was mad. He might have been talking loud. I don't know what happened, but they got into an altercation, and James took it one way, he took it the other. But T40 got suspended. He got a 2-week suspension for that, as it turns out,
okay.
And a $500 fine. And I talked to Danny today, and he's like, you know, it is what it is. He goes, at the end of the day, I went in the infield, I got out of my car, and I probably had I did what it says you can't do. I did that. James came over there, and he thought that he was imposing a threat on his dad, and he was kind of having his dad's back. And I've been a little rough on James. I have, you know, because, I mean, it don't matter. I mean, I called out the Grand Rapids Speedway today. I'll call out anybody, and I helped that place. But there's two sides to that deal, and at the end of the day, Danny Thomas is like, you know what, it's over, it's done. You know, I guess I learned my lesson in that one, and we'll just move on to better days. So little follow-up there for the Granite City Speedway. And
I got one more thing on the last lap here. So I just saw before getting on here. So the Extreme Dirt Car Series, the Winter Series, they released their schedule. They're going to go 8 races again next year. So that's back for $15,000 to win again for the series. So you can go to their website and check out all the specifics. But kind of happy to see, of course, Madden was your champion on that last year. So kind of happy to see that we'll have something to cover November, December, January, and February, Ryan.
Absolutely. So, and one more thing too is Aaron Bennett, driver of the number 6 late model over in eastern Wisconsin. He passed away. Sounds like a tragic accident on a motorcycle. And Bob Bennett, they had that tribute there, right? It was just like literally seems like it was maybe a month ago. But Bob Bennett, his dad passed away, so a tough deal for the Bennett family out in eastern Wisconsin. We never want to see that in the racing or anything, but especially in the racing community. But a tough deal out there, you know. And if you want a full recap of this past week's events, jump onto the buyresearch.com One to Go Show Power Rankings. Those are going to be coming out hopefully a day early. They typically been coming out on Thursdays, but I'm hoping to have them out on Wednesday. We'll see how much time we have. But with that said, Puka, let's jump into the must-see events of the week. And I know that you're not, there's one that I know you're not looking forward to, but I'll let you say it anyway. Yeah. But what sticks out to you? There's a lot of stuff going on, but there's a few big ones. What sticks out to you this week?
Yeah, so before I get into that, I just want to say thanks to our partners on this section. So the must-see events are brought to you by L&M Radiator. So we've talked about L&M Radiator for a couple of weeks. So, you know, if you're just whatever, you know, you're sitting at work and you don't like the guy next to you, he needs to get a different job or a new job, just send him right down below to Masabi.com. Masabi.com. You know what you should just do? Go to work and just complain about the job and say how bad it is. And you just convince this guy you don't like that he needs to get a new job. Or like I said, if it's your brother, brother-in-law, you just can't stand being around these people. Masabi.com. You know, they've got all kinds of positions available. Like I said, some of them are part-times. Some of them require only a high school degree, some of the 2-year degree. Like I said, welding is a big thing for them. They build these gigantic radiators. So if you're a good welder, you get up there, and even if you're maybe not up to their specs, they'll train you and get you where you need to be. And like Ryan, I know, like I said, you're a mile away from the Hibbing Raceway. You love racing. Get a place in Hibbing. If you're right by the track, 30 miles down or 32 miles down the road, the Dahlinger Auto Speedway in Grand Rapids is right here. You can get all of your racing in. Work where you play, biking trails, hunting, fishing, all that good stuff. Masabi.com, check them out, and you can just apply right in the upper right-hand. Once you get to Masabi.com, right on the upper right-hand side, there's a big button, Apply Now. Just click there and go from there.
Puka, before we get into this, we've made people wait long enough, right? And in fact, I almost forgot about it, okay?
Yeah.
So we'll have to earmark it maybe on what time of the show it was. So the big news right now, huge drama in the WISSOTA late models. National point leader Cole Searing, a 2-week WISSOTA suspension and a $500 fine. Sounds like an unsportsmanlike conduct deal. I don't know all the details. From what my sources tell me, he had a confrontation with the Becker team, Chad Becker, which them are the two right now that are really leading the way for the national championship race. They race against each other every week. And I don't know all the details, right? But I was told that Becker's crew was down in his pits and they were screaming and yelling and this and that. And now, from what I understand, is Becker might have got like a little penalty, like a fine or something like that, but he didn't get a suspension. Okay? And from what I understand, again, I don't have the facts. This is what my sources tell me, okay, is that his group, I don't know who it was even, was in the Searing pit. Yet Searing is the one who got a 2-week suspension.
Ooh, so that adds to.
That's interesting. Now, I've talked to some folks out there, and they're like, that is crazy. So there is an appeal process going on right now, but let's be honest. I mean, they're neck and neck. I mean, they're literally one podium separates them, and I think Searing's got a couple more wins, but there were a couple 3-car wins that he had at the beginning of the year. So take them out of the equation, and they are literally neck and neck for the national title race. I promise you, right? They both want to win the title. Chad Becker don't want to win a title by the other guy having 2 weeks off. He don't want to do that. I promise you. He's a competitive guy. He wants to race. I don't know. I mean, that's crazy, man. Now, I don't know what was all said or if I don't know all the facts. All I know is they had an argument, a confrontation. It's been brewing for a little while. Now, the only thing I can say is this. I've been suspended before. I have. Okay, several of us have. It is what it is. But the fact of the matter is, the more vocal you are and the worse that you handle adversity, because it's racing, shit's gonna happen. It's just plain and simple. There's gonna be things that are out of your control that pisses you off like no end. The better you handle stuff like that, the less likely you are to get a suspension when you get a little bit out of hand. So any driver out there, I'm telling you, it's the Michael Jordan effect. I'm not saying you got to completely kiss ass all the time, but the fact is, I'm telling you, I learned the hard way probably 3-4 dozen times that discretion is the better part of valor. You kind of want to just kind of, you have to kind of set back, and it's a fiery deal. I mean, that's what makes racing so good, is the energy, the passion, the excitement. And I really, really, really hope that the Brown County Speedway makes a decision to say, look, we're going to fine you, we're going to put you on probation, and we're going to let you get back to racing. WISSOTA's got no control over that. None. WISSOTA, if the track recommends that we want this person this, and we want this person this, they literally sit back and they're like, this is on a track level. They make that decision. The track has the ability to call WISSOTA and say, look, we want to lessen the blow here a little bit. They can change their mind on that. Hopefully they do, but that's big news. I'm telling you, that's in the late models. In my mind, those are the only two really in the hunt, right? If you take one of them out of the mix, that's just gonna it's just not fun anymore.
So what track was it? Was it the Bull Ring?
Brown County Speedway in Aberdeen.
Oh, Friday night. Okay.
Yep. And now you know how everything's perception, right? Well, where's Cole Searing from? Huron. Where's Chad Becker from?
Aberdeen.
I'm just saying, okay? I've already had people texting me that, oh yeah, they're giving it to the Homer guy. I don't even know if Becker gets along with the people that run the track. I have no idea, right? But it sure looks like that on the outside looking in. Like two people, if they're brawling and one's in the other person's pit and one gets suspended, they both got to get suspended, right?
Yeah.
And if they don't both get suspended, it don't make any sense. Now, on a flip side of this, if he stays suspended, could you see Cole Searing make the trip over to the Cedar Lake Speedway for the USA Nationals?
Tell him if he's friends with Tyler McDonald knows not only how to get there, but how to get around there. So if he just follows him to the track, follows him out onto the track, it could be a success.
His chassis builder might know a thing about that too.
What's that?
That his chassis builder might know.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, he runs a Mars car. He's right there. Go home.
Yeah, Jimmy, whatever Mars, I think is what. Yeah,
Jimmy Saturn. Oh no, Jimmy Mars.
But I guess if you're gonna flip this on a positive side, man, I would love to see Cole Searing at Cedar Lake. I would love to see that.
And another positive I'm seeing, one of the greatest rivalries of all time was in South Dakota, the Arment-Gelling rivalry. Well, do we have a new rivalry brewing?
100%.
That rivalry lasted, 15, 20 years, those two, and it was a fantastic rivalry. That's when you grab your all the dirt, one thing you always kind of flip for was to see kind of the Arment-Gelling with any news, whether it was a mod or a late model. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, it was fantastic.
So you put them two in a cage match, and I'm sorry, Cole, but you're getting killed because Chad Becker towers over the top of it, right? So the rivalry off the track, I'm just not going to bet on you. I'm just not, okay? On the track right now, the young gun, I think Cole Searing's had his number. I think Cole Searing has, from about the midpoint of last year, I've said it all along. I feel like Cole Searing has been the fastest guy in South Dakota. Now, Becker's won a few big ones out there, but Searing's been really good. And Searing, of course, the reigning national champ, or not Searing, but Becker, the reigning national champ. Searing coming in, and he's hunting for that deal. That rivalry is for real. That is probably one of the top rivalries in WISSOTA racing right now. So keep an eye on it. And when he gets back, hopefully the appeal process goes well. He can get back to racing. But I want you to keep an eye on it. The 10 of Cole Searing, the 12 of Chad Becker, them two are going to be going at it for a long time here, and they're always in the front. So keep an eye on that. So now let's get to your must-see events of the week to wrap this thing up.
Oh, it's, you know what it is for me. It's all Cedar Lake. It's the Fans Fun Dash. It's the local feature Friday and Saturday. It's the Woo feature Thursday. It's the Woo feature Saturday. what is it, the 34th annual, believe it is, USA Now, 32nd, 34th annual. So I've been going to a lot of them. My first one, 1991. So, yeah, it's all about Cedar Lake. And like I said, we'll be doing some coverage, Bert and I. Get over, the show's almost over. Don't do it now, but get over to our YouTube page, The One to Go Show on YouTube. Subscribe there so you get our notifications. We'll be doing all kinds of content down there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. How about you, Ryan? What you got your eye on?
I'm starting with a little dream. It was Rice Lake Speedway Tuesday night. So the show's coming out. It's Tuesday right now. So watch the show, but get your butt over to the Rice Lake Speedway or jump on the watchfye.tv to catch that. They're going to have a stacked field of WISSOTA street stocks. And I'm going to be honest, street stock racing trumps late model racing. It's just better. It just is. Okay, plain and simple. I don't care if it's street stocks, USRA stock cars, IMCA stock cars. It's better than late model racing, period, end of discussion. But last year, Puka, I think it was 26,000 to win.
Yeah.
Nick Feiner got it done last year. Moss was right there at the end to win that. Now, I'm going to ask you this. Parker Anderson has had a season for the ages, okay? And I'm looking at his number as we're speaking right now. And right now, he has 26 wins. And we're literally the beginning of August. 26 wins, okay? 41 podiums and 49 shows. He dominated the Steffes Tour, right? Do you think, and the last time he went to Rice Lake was last week, he went from 9th to 1st on a regular night, okay? Can he put the exclamation point on the season and get it done at the Little Dream? Do you think that can happen?
Absolutely, it can, especially being that he was there. Now, we just talked about how it could be a little bit tough to pass. I don't know if that's the case in a street stock, but good luck to Parker. Just an incredible event. I think we joked last year, the World of Outlaw late models are in Wisconsin during that same time. How many are going to start skipping the World of Outlaws for 10 grand, find a street stock for 26 grand? But just, to everyone involved, is Chris Steffen still real involved in that?
Yeah, he's involved with that for sure. I'm not sure.
So everyone involved, congrats, and just keep that thing going. Like I said, I remember those Little Dream races when they used to be with the late model race. Rice Lake's late model specials used to be in early June. So I used to see those, and I think they paid maybe $1,000 or $2,000 back in the 90s, and that was a big event. That was a big deal. Now they've 10 times the money. But yeah, I think Parker Anderson can get it done.
Over or under 26 grand to win last year. For those of you that live under a rock and aren't sure how this deal works, right? It starts out with a certain pay. I feel like it's $1,000 to win, I think is what it starts with. But then fans, whether they jump online, they have a link where you can click online, or if you're at the track, you can keep adding money to the purse. You can add it to whatever spot you want, right? Yeah. But a lot of people, they add it to the top. They're like, let's try to get it higher. Let's try to get it higher. Last year was a record. I believe it was 26,000. Is it going to be more or less this year?
Oh, we're going with the over. We're going with the over for sure. This is exciting. I mean, this is one of the 5 best WISSOTA events of the year, really. People might not think of it because it's street stocks and it might leave their mind, in a short-term basis. But I mean, think about it. This makes, 26,000 makes a difference in a person's life. This is like, you win a feature for $2,000. It's pretty nice and everything covers your expenses. You buy a couple extra times. $26,000 makes a big difference in somebody's life.
For sure.
I hope we don't see a rollover on the last lap because of the 26,000, because this happens to be the year of rollovers.
Well, I hope we do, but I hope the driver's okay. I want to see chaos going for the win. Like literally, if you're running second in this deal in the last corner, you absolutely body slam the guy.
Well, you have, yeah, that's right. You have to, right?
The second place, like $1,000. It's like you can if you miss, you get put to the back, you get $100 or a couple $100. You lose out on $700-800. You're like, whatever. But right. You ain't sleeping at night if you don't know that you didn't give it everything that you have to try to win that deal. Like, you'll be playing that back for years to come, going, why didn't I just force it in there? So last lap, driver, street stock driver, you come into the last corner, you have a shot to win, you do whatever it takes. Right?
That's right.
Period. So that'll be exciting. And then, of course, the USA Nationals, Puka. And then, I'll be honest, the Ironman 55 is intriguing to me. The World of Outlaw Sprints at I-55, 55 laps, $20,000 to win. Pretty cool stuff. I know you're going to Cedar Lake. I'm going to Kansas City for, I got my other business that I actually get paid for. I'm going down to Kansas City for that. I will be watching all of this online, right? I'm so thankful for live streaming because I'm probably not going to watch it while I'm down there, but I do have like a 7-8 hour drive home where I'll probably get caught up after my weekend of being down there for my business. So, Puka, a lot of drama this week, especially with that whole Searing deal. Man, oh man, I'm telling you, that's a bad deal. That's a bad deal. I don't think anybody wants to win a championship that way, being Becker. I'm really curious. I'd really like to talk to whoever made that decision at Aberdeen to kind of see what happened there, because when you look at the big picture of things, right, and you're like, this guy's leading national points, that doesn't make any more special than anybody else, right? But there's a lot on the line here. When the guy that's a season record right there. Right. So it's like, yeah, interesting. I'm going to see if we can follow up on that, get a little bit more info for the next show. So with that said, have a blast down at Cedar Lake. It's going to be, hopefully the weather's good. The racing is going to be awesome. Get some good interviews down there, and I'll turn it to you, man.
Yeah, so if anyone hears anything on this drama unfolding in South Dakota as the week goes on, please comment. Like I said, this is kind of a developing story that we picked up, or I shouldn't say Ryan picked up right before the show. So, of course, a lot of people thank at the end of the show. As always, we want to thank everyone over at G.O.A.T Sports. Be sure to check out the BuyRaceShirts.com Power Rankings, which will be coming out later this week. As always, hit the subscribe button, share with your friends, share this episode if you like it. And let us know, whether in the comments, or you can go to our email address, theonetogoshow@gmail.com, theonetogoshow@gmail.com. I'm talking too fast, but let us know how you're doing, or how we're doing. Let us know what you like, what you dislike, because we always like hearing from you, seeing what's going on. Of course, thank our sponsors: Dirt Track Supply, Ellen and Radiator, Masabi.com, Cowboy Up Racing, Zuli's Race Engines, RV Share, BuyRaceShirts.com, and Blue Line Brews, who is our newest partner. And I think that just about wraps it. So, yeah, we'll see you all at the USA Nationals. For Ryan Ahill, I am Puka. Get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the One to Go Show.